actually have.
Good morning, Your Honor. Yes, ma'am.
You may be seated, you're gonna need, we need a minute to get set up, so.
Are you presenting?
What?
Are you presenting?
I am.
You want to go? Oh, excellent.
All right, it's just the presider sit up there, actually, my apologies, and the
Yeah,
other two stores will sit over here in the jury
Yes,
box.
we've got 4 judges in this round, it's presided and three in the jury room there.
Yeah, you can, I'll. The other store is on the opposite side.
Know while we're getting ready. I know at the end at some point, the judges are all gonna introduce themselves, but I don't know if there's any reason not for the public. Getting everything set that they can introduce themselves to you now.
Ooh, okay, good morning, everybody. My name is Marvin Vallejo.
Good morning. My name is Monica American, practicing 22 years. Judge Pro Tem, Minors Council. Enjoy being here.
Matthew Kanan, 2007 graduate of Louisville Law School, practicing trust estate and probate litigation as well as civil appeals. I too am a volunteer temporary judge for Los Angeles and Orange County Superior Court.
And I'm Robert Arrow. I'm in private practice doing civil litigation and real estate litigation. I sit as a judge for Tem also for the LA Superior Court. And I'm director for Teach Democracy that does the high school competition, trial competition. So, let's see, I still have that. Someone's got their code at the top. Okay, I think I'm ready, everyone else is ready? Okay. Please, state your appearances.
Yes, Your Honor. Good morning. My name is Ria Denoff. Today I'm joined at council table by Monsieur Moultrie,
Good morning, Your Honor.
and together we represent the estate of Maximilian, the decedent in this case.
Thank you.
Appearances from the defense. Good morning, Your Honor. My name is Josiah Jones, and today I'm joined by my co-counsel, Mr. Max Fritsch.
Good morning, Your Honor.
We're also joined by two additional co-counsel, Mr. Sam Farnsworth,
Good morning, Your Honor.
Ms. Juliet.
Good morning, Your Honor.
Morning.
Your Honor, due to the nature of this competition, we'd also ask permission to introduce the witnesses that will testify.
That'll be fine.
You're going to hear from Ms. Nicolette Knack
Good morning.
and Mr. Tempest Trapp.
Morning, Your Honor.
Good morning. Okay, and I think the prosecution will introduce your witnesses.
Yes, Your Honor. On the plaintiff's side, we've got two witnesses we'll be calling over out. We've got Utah UT,
Hey, Your Honor.
and we've also got our expert in this case is Emery Everett.
Good morning, Your Honor.
Good morning. Okay. And did you have a second set of,
Yes, Your Honor. Our co-counsel will be coming in replacing you shortly. If they'd like to introduce themselves.
My name is William Johnson, Your Honor. My name is Jacob Zutucci.
okay, I may ask the second level counsel to reintroduce themselves when they come forward. This is part of the court.
Yes, Your Honor.
So any other preliminary matters before we begin?
Yes, Your Honor, just a few things. We'd like to vote Rule 603 and 615, those just constructively swear in and exclude all witnesses from the remainder of trial, barring party representatives, but it's our understanding that there are no party representatives in court now.
That's exactly our understanding as well, Your Honor.
All right, anything else?
No objections to that.
And Your Honor, there's a stipulation in this case, stipulation 12, excuse me, Your Honor. Exhibits 1 and 2 are pre-admitted. We mentioned that because this is exhibit 1, it's photo of Maximilian, we'll be using it during opening statements, just wanted to let the court know. That's all, Your Honor.
Few matters from the defense. First, we'd like to let Your Honor know that today we'll be raising an affirmative defense of assumption of witness. Next, Your Honor, if I could draw your attention to pretrial order number 5. That's a pretrial order that was made about the experts you're going to hear from in today's trial. That pretrial order just lays out that those experts disclosed some conclusions that both counsel have agreed to under 702, but we do reserve the right to still object under 702 to any conclusions that were not disclosed within the report. Next, Your Honor, like counsel mentioned, exhibit 2 is pre-admitted in this case. We'd ask for permission to use that during opening statements. Finally, under 615, we don't have a party representative to that. That's it from us.
Okay, thank you.
We're at opening statements.
We're ready, okay?
Yes, Your Honor. They turned this trick into a tragedy. Members of the jury, we're here today because of this man. You might know him. Maximilian is a world-class magician known for his show-stopping tricks. At this time last year, the company he worked for made him do a trick that killed him. Talk about what happened. See, it's July 14th, 2020. And a man named Angel Ashford, he's at Langford Family Carnival panicking. Because he's one man with two jobs. See, first, he's the prop master for the carnival. He's got to clean up after the magicians, make sure all the props are organized best he can. But he's also the owner, which means he has to deal with weapons. Guns. He's not experienced. The time, it's running out. Because in just a few hours, two magicians, including Mr. Maximilian, they're supposed to perform what's called the bullet test trick. And they need him to prepare a firearm for them. So he rushes through that crap among all his other work. He does the best that he can. And he sends them up. Now, the way that trick is supposed to go, Mr. Maximilian, he stands on one side of the stage, and he's across from his assistant. They start a fake argument, get the audience all riled up. His assistant on the other side is supposed to take that gun and shoot it at him. But it's just filled with blanks. See, the magic of it, the illusion of it, is that Mr. Maximilian pretends to catch a bullet in his gun. It's supposed to be fun. That's not what happens. No, members of the jury. That prop master, that armorer, he did not do his job. So when that gun goes off, Mr. Maximilian is shot dead. This trick turned into a tragedy. The people responsible? His defendant, Lambert family crime. Members of the jury, that's why we're in court today. See, as the plaintiff, we've brought a charge of recklessness against the defendant. And with that, we've embraced a burden of proof. It's going to be our burden to prove to you today that it's more likely than not the company, they didn't do what was necessary to keep that magician safe. And we're going to prove that to you with the two witnesses we'll be calling today. First, members of the jury, you're going to hear from someone named Natalia. She's a performer who's at the carnival. She'll tell you about the state of disarray that the carnival was operating under, about the major cost-cutting measures that they took. But to learn why that's not safe, well, members of the jury, you won't just have to take her word for it. You'll be able to hear from an expert who will take that witness. Ms. Emery-Ever. She's a firearm expert from Alabama. You're going to learn that she's been working with firearms her entire life. She'll take this stand and you'll learn about some critical safety procedures that the circus was supposed to take. They didn't. Well, members of the jury, we understand that as a business, you got to maximize profit. But there's a difference between maximizing profit and putting profits above people. We have to hold this company accountable for what they did. They turned this trick into a tragedy. We'll ask you to find them why. Thank you.
Second, Your Honor.
Please.
Ambulance Court. He decided on the most dangerous option. It's July 14, 2020. And Max the Magnificent, the magician, is getting ready for his final trick. Takes a deep breath. Walks to the other side of the stage, 30 feet away from his assistant, and stares down the barrel of a gun. He's nervous. He's nervous because he's had the option to set up a target off stage. He's nervous because he's had the option to have that gun aimed over his shoulders. But he didn't choose those options. You're going to learn he had that gun pointed directly at his head. His assistant fired. And Mr. Maximilian dies that day. He died because he decided on the most dangerous option. That's why we're here. That's why, in response to this recklessness claim from the plaintiff, we've raised something called an affirmative defense of assumption of risk. That means today we're going to prove to you that Mr. Maximilian, he had a duty to protect himself, to exercise care to himself, to do that trick safely. You're going to learn he failed to do. We're going to prove that to you by calling two witnesses to the stand. The first person we're going to call is a woman named Nicolette Mack. She's going to talk to you about Mr. Maximilian understood the risks that came along with doing this trick. In fact, she's going to show you an important document. Holding up pre-admitted exhibit 2. This is a contract that Mr. Maximilian signed. You're going to hear from Ms. Nappy how Mr. Maximilian signed the contract that said he understood that what he was doing was dangerous. But more than that, she's going to tell you how he talked about it. How he said, I know that I shouldn't be pointing a gun at something that I don't want to. You're going to learn from Ms. Nappy's testimony that Mr. Maximilian understood the risks that came with this trick. That's going to take us to the second witness we're going to call to you today. An expert in a very specific field, magic trick safety and design. He's going to talk to you about a couple of things that are important for this case. And frankly, members of the jury, it's the heart of this case. He's going to talk to you about how Mr. Maximilian was warned about the dangers of this trick and how he could have made it safe. So let's take those one at a time. Because he's going to walk you through how Mr. Maximilian was warned. You're going to hear that he was warned by his assistant, by the defendant, by his own experiences that this trick was dangerous. But despite that, you're going to learn that he decided to do it anyway. And then you're going to learn that he chose the most dangerous option. Because that expert, he's going to talk to you about that second. The ways that Mr. Maximilian had to make this trick safe. You're going to learn he could have had a target waiting off stage for that assistant to aim at. You're going to learn he could have decided to aim that gun over his shoulder so it wasn't pointed at his head. But instead, you're going to learn that he decided to have that gun aimed directly at him. Members of the jury, we expect that the plaintiff in this case is going to ask you to focus on some things that Mr. Maximilian didn't know. But what this case is really about is what he did. Today, you're going to learn that he decided on the most dangerous option. Unfortunately, that's why he passed away. That's why at the end of this trial, we're going to ask that you find Lampert Family Carnival not liable. Thank you for your time.
We're going to do a little swap, so council.
Would you like us to reintroduce ourselves?
Please, that's great. Let's start with
Right, Your Honor. My name is Jacob Tucci, and I'm joined here at council table with Mr. William Johnson. Good morning, Your Honor. I'm Sam Farnsworth, and I'm here with Max Fresh. Good morning, Your Honor.
Okay, let him call your first witness, right?
Yes, Your Honor, at this time, the plaintiff calls Ms. Uta to the
Sorry, y'all. We do things a little slower this time.
Is this some?
Good. This is Coach Chair right here.
Good morning. Would you please introduce yourself to the court?
Howdy, y'all. I'm Utah.
Utah.
And what do you do for a living, Ms. Hutton?
Well, I worked at a few places, but I work for a pretty good kid right now. I work for MIT, the Morado Institute of Technology, as a junior. But before that, I was working for the Lampard Family Carnival. I was there at level.
And why are you here delivering testimony today?
Well, you see, I got in a teensy bit of trouble. I may have been playing tag with the police, but basically, they caught me on the road and are fixing to reduce my sentence by testify truthfully.
Well, before we go any further, Ms. Hutton, can you explain to the members of the jury why they should trust your testimony here today?
Sure. Basically, my deal's only good if I'm found useful and true. All I gotta do is tell y'all exactly what I saw. Easy enough.
I want to start at the very beginning. How did you get your start at Lampard Family Carnival?
Well, way back in 2017, I was working as the assistant to the original Daredevil at LFC. I mean, it was cool and all, but he didn't even use no fire or nothing. I took over for him in 2019. See, I used fire.
And what your work as Daredevil for LFC look like?
Well, your name is stuff. How proudly done it. Escape from cages, snakes, done that. Escape from straitjacket while underwater, done that too. Escape from a plane without a parachute. Well, that one wasn't on purpose, but I still did it anyway. Honestly, I could do basically anything you asked me to, up until I broke my leg in it.
Well, how'd your work at LFC change after you broke your leg?
Well, Legacy was more concerned about my broken leg than the arrest. He said I couldn't do the stuff no more. After asking me, my grandma does all her stuff just fine in her wheelchair. Whatever. Legacy, he kept me on as their ticket taker, and I was fine that he paid me below minimum wage. He hired a Max to replace me.
Almost suddenly, who's Max?
That would be Max Magnificent. Fly high, magic boy. Probably heard of him. He's the best magician this side of Mississippi.
Do you know anything about Max's work at LFC?
Well, yeah, I knew that he had a few little pretty acts himself.
There was one that was almost as dangerous as mine. Still didn't have no fire. I'm the queen of fire, what can I say? But it was something called the bullet catch trick. I watched him do it a few times in practice.
Well, what do you know from the bullet catch trick based on what you saw?
From what I saw, it was basically the magician's assistant firing a gun at the magician, and the magician pretends to catch the bullet in their mouth. It was a real neat little trick, but I was surprised that Legacy let him do it.
Why were you surprised?
Well, I mean, Legacy was always going on about how dangerous and expensive my stunts were. I can't believe he let Max do the bullet catch trick.
Well, why was Legacy so focused on how expensive your tricks were?
Well, he was doing something called the cost-cutting measures. It was happening all over the carnival. I mean, we were using boards to board up windows, and we were using duct tape to fix wherever we could. It was real tragedy.
And how do you feel about the cost-cutting measures that Legacy Lampard was putting in place?
I mean, I didn't care for it, but it seemed like a few people, Angel Ashmore, our prop master, were making excuses. You see, one day I was fixing to go watch the annual Chippy Strongman Wrestling Contest. I put good money on that shit, but I saw Angel having a conversation with one of our people.
What'd you overhear?
Oh, well, Angel said something about a couple of rusty poles not being a big deal. I mean, he was talking to the trapeze artists.
Well, can you describe what your relationship is with the prop master at LFC, Miss Angel Ashton?
Sure. See, I don't hate Angel, what she does between her and the big man up top. But if you ask me, her bridges are a size too big for her booty. July 13th, we had a party that day, and I think it was a perfect example.
I want to go through that party a bit. What did you see there?
Sure. Angel sure was drinking that day, is all I can say. He was 2 to 3 bottles in, and
Objection, Your Honor, lack of foundation. Member,
Yes.
we don't know how this witness knows how much this witness had to drink. Your Honor, this witness testified that they were at the party on July 13th. They would have been there at the party, seeing what Angel was doing, seeing what they're drinking. That's the foundation, and it's already.
Objection.
Yes, Your Honor. You're telling us about what Angel was doing at that party. Can you continue with that?
yes, sir, yes. So, again, Angel's drinking, decided to set up this makeshift shooting range. And that would be right up my alley usually, but then I saw where Angel actually got the gun and the ammo for it.
Where did the prop master Angel Ashmore get the gun and the ammo for the party that night?
He went into the prop tent to get all that stuff and came out with a lockbox and the ammo.
And did Angel Ashmore shoot the gun there that night?
Yes, sir, he did. It was a beautiful Glock 22. That's my daddy's favorite gun to go gave him.
Like I said, that was July 13th. I want to talk about that very next day, July 14th. How'd that day start, Greg?
So I had skipped out some ticket taking. I wanted to go watch the earlier acts. Strongman was out sick. My chimp was. But anyways, I also saw Max and his assistant Gavin sitting up for the next train.
And what did you see while they were setting up?
That right there, they had a lockbox set up. And I reckon it looked really close to the one I saw the night before.
Well, why did you think it was similar to the one that you saw the night before?
I mean, it was the same shape, same color, same size, and everything. And inside that box was the gun that I'd seen the night before.
Now, when you saw that lockbox was up there, same one you saw last night, did you tell Max and Gabby anything?
I couldn't. Lacey, he told me to go back to the ticket taker. I had to go back, and that's when I heard the shot.
Thank you for your testimony, staying aside. No further questions, John. Yes, sir. Good afternoon, ma'am.
Had
I want to begin by talking about why you're testifying today.
sure.
You were arrested last year, weren't you, ma'am?
Yes, sir, I was.
You said walking up to the stand, you do things slower in the South. Did I catch that right?
Sure, when it comes to walking, when it comes to all this stuff.
Ma'am, you were arrested for street racing. Is that correct?
Yes, sir, it was.
Now, the police caught you doing that, right?
Yes, sir.
And you said on direct that you played tag with them. Is that true?
That's true.
Ma'am,
That's why I'm here today.
you hid from the police, didn't you?
Again, that's true, sir.
You ran away from them, right?
Yes, sir, I was.
But then you crashed your car, correct?
Yep, that's what broke my leg in the accident.
And then you were in a whole lot of trouble at that point, weren't you?
Sure was.
Now, you mentioned a phrase about the South. Have you ever heard the phrase, everything's bigger in Texas?
Yes, sir, I have.
Man, that includes the prison sentences, doesn't it?
We ain't in Texas no more, sorry.
Man,
We're in Iraq.
you were facing 10
years in prison, weren't you?
Yes, sir, originally, that was what was gonna happen.
And your attorney got you a pretty sweet deal, isn't that right?
Well, he did get me pleaded.
In exchange for your testimony, those 10 years in prison reduced to probation, right?
Yes, sir, if I'm found useful and truthful today.
That means that those 10 years in prison go down to 0 years in prison, right?
Yes, sir, that would be probation, if I'm found truthful today.
Now, man, you keep saying, if you're found truthful. I don't get a say in that, do I?
No, sir.
Man, the people who determine whether you're being truthful are these attorneys right here, correct?
Yes, sir, that's true.
And man, you don't want to bite the hand that's keeping you out of prison, do you?
I mean, sure, they came up with legal stuff and I just show up.
Then let's talk about another reason you're testifying today, because you agree there's actually a bit of bad blood between you and Lambert family Carter, correct?
I mean, other than them firing me, sure.
Man, you were hired there a few years ago, correct?
Yes, sir, I was originally hired.
You really liked being a daredevil there, right?
Yes, sir, I did.
Felt like it was your big break, true.
I mean, I was a daredevil there. I was shooting out cannons every night.
But after this accident, man, you felt like they blamed you for everything. True.
Yeah, Legacy blamed me on trying to make it more dangerous, even though he never took a hoot to what I asked for before Max got there.
They fired you, right?
Yeah, he did.
And you took that pretty hard, didn't you?
Well, I mean, I got a new gig at MIT.
You feel like testifying against them today with that plea deal and the fact you were fired, feel like that's a win-win, don't you?
Sure do.
Then let's talk about whether Maximilian knew the dangers of the option he chose. Because, man, you know what the bullet catch trick is, right? You talked about that on the record.
A little. I did watch a few practices.
We can agree it's a pretty dangerous trick.
Objection, Your Honor, calls for speculation at this time. Maybe Eric?
Yes.
This witness will be able to testify to the dangers of the bullet catch trick. They're not a magician, they have never testified to or have never used this stunt using firearms. Testify to that danger would take some knowledge in the field of magic. We can hear from other witnesses today, including expert testimony on the danger of that trick, but this witness is not the time to delve into that testimony.
Response. Your Honor, they opened the door for this on direct examination. I believe the witness said verbatim that the bullet catch trick is slightly less dangerous than the tricks that she does because she's the queen of fire. That means that they opened the door for this night in front of them.
Objection.
Yes, Your Honor. And we can agree the bullet catch trick is pretty dangerous. Yes, sir.
Well, I mean, I didn't see the actual trick, but from what I saw in practice, they were using the real gun.
You know that not just based on what you saw, but what you talked about, right?
In terms of winning, I'm sorry.
You actually talked with Maximilian about the bullet catch trick, didn't you?
Yeah, we were talking in a big old room and Max brought up the bullet catch trick.
He told you he knew it was dangerous.
I mean, he sure said that somebody could get hurt if we weren't careful.
He said, this is a dangerous trick, correct?
Yes, and that's why we had to be careful and make sure all the precautions were put up in place.
He said, just because this is a blank does not mean it's totally safe. That's what he said, isn't it?
Exactly. That's why we had a responsibility, remember?
Thank you, man. Go for the questions.
No redirect examination, Your Honor, we have to witness to that now.
Thank you.
See you, Barb.
Now, are you sure I understand that our rules are weak?
At this time, Your Honor, I believe it's the defense that calls it.
Okay.
Yes, Your Honor. The defense calls this Nicolette Matthews. Sam.
May I proceed, Your Honor, please? Good morning. Please introduce yourself to the members of the jury.
Oh, sure. Hi there. My name is Nicolette Beck.
Where are you from, ma'am?
I'm from a big city, Economowoc.
We're 10 minutes from Neshota, which is 30 minutes from Brookfield, which is 20 minutes from Milwaukee. So I do consider myself a cosmopolitan.
And what do you do for a living?
I work at South Hands Full Hearts Petting Zoo at the carnival.
How do you like working there?
It's my passion. You know that the jingle gets me going every time. Soft hands, full hearts, don't touch the goats, private parts. We had to change it to no 9 after the incident.
Well, where is this petting zoo exactly?
It's at the Lambert Family Carnival.
And how long have you been working with the Lambert Family Carnival?
I would say over 10 years. Yeah, I love it there. It's been long enough they have me doing my own act every night. The animal psychic. So I bring the animals up on stage, and when Betty moves, it's bedtime. And when Richard bleeds, he's hungry. And when Carl, the human, barks, we call security.
Well, what are your coworkers like at LSC?
I love them. There's Legacy, she's the owner. Angel, the armorer, Moon. She cleans up after the rest of us. It's a big job. Ota, I love her. She uses animals too, just not ones you should pet. I try.
Okay, well, ma'am, I want to turn our attention to today's case. Did you ever meet someone named Maximilian while you worked at LSC?
Oh, I sure did. Yeah, it's a real shame what happened. He was a real sweetheart.
Well, what happened?
He passed away during a trick on stage, the bullet catch.
What's the bullet catch?
Well, from my understanding, it's when the magician has a gun pointed at him and through illusions and all that stuff, they make it look like they caught the bullet.
Okay, well, ma'am, then I want to talk about what Max knew about mixing guns and magic. Okay, did you ever talk about that subject with him?
You know, I did, because I ran into him at the shooting range once. I do carry.
When was this at a shooting range?
I would say it was mid-June of 2023. Yeah, so a few weeks before the trick. You know, picture me, I'm coming in the door and I'm wearing my best sweater vest, pink argyle, because it matches the mustard again. And who should I see walk in the door but Max?
What did you do after you saw Mr. Maximilian walk in?
Oh, I said hi. You know, I went right up to him, and every time we took a break, we would chat. You know, I had just been dumped with my boyfriend left me. I had a lot to talk about. So I'm single, if you were wondering.
Sorry, ma'am, not my type.
So not a fan.
Well, okay, ma'am. Is there anything else you talked about with Mr. Maximilian?
Well, sure. You know, he was a great shot, and so I asked him. You know, you're a great magician too. Ever thought about mixing the two things, guns and magic?
How do you respond?
Oh, he said he didn't. You know, rule number 1 of firearm safety. This is what he said. Don't point a gun at something you don't want dead.
Did he say anything else?
Well, yeah, he said, for most magic tricks that use guns, you gotta point the gun at them. So that's why it's a no-no.
Well, ma'am, if Mr. Maximilian said he knew mixing guns and magic could be dangerous, do you know how he died?
Oh, in his trick, they pointed the gun at him and, that's his trick.
Well, then let's talk about his knowledge of that risk. Were you ever aware of a contract that Max signed with LSC?
I was, actually. When he first came on board, I reviewed his contract. Nothing gets past me.
Would you recognize that contract if I showed it to you?
I should.
Your Honor, I'm approaching opposing counsel with what's been created in Article 2. Now approaching the witness with the same. Man, do you recognize that?
This looks like the contract to me. It's all in Legacy's handwriting, and she and Max and Gabby, the assistant, all signed at the bottom.
What does this contract say about danger in tricks?
Max and Gabby understand magic can be dangerous. That's what it says.
And man, do you know when Max did that trick for this contract?
I think it was July 14th
of last.
Let's walk through that day a little more. What were you doing on the night Mr. Max died?
Well, I wrapped up my show for the evening, and by that time it was about 7 p.m., which is bedtime for the goats. So I was giving Anderson Cooper his bottle because he gets cranky if he goes to bed hungry. So I named them after my favorite celebrities: Anderson Cooper, Andy Cohen, Neil Patrick Harris. Oh, I got it tight.
Well, what happened while you were in the bed?
Well, I was finishing feeding goats, right? And then I heard running outside, so I poked my head out to see what was going on. And there was just a flood of people going by.
Do you know why they were running?
Well, at first I was worried there'd be a fire. You know, I looked around, but I didn't see any smoke. So then I tried to ask somebody, stop them and ask, and they just pointed me at the main stage.
What did you see on the stage?
There was a lot of people. And I kept trying to, sneak a peek through people's shoulders, but I'm not real tall, I couldn't see much. And then in the crowd, I saw one of our security guards, and so he sort of motioned me backstage.
What did you see when you got backstage?
Well, I saw the acting Max's assistant sitting on the ground. And so I went up to her and I asked her, Gabby, what happened? Where's Max? And she just looked up at me and, oh dear, she just welled up and started to cry. And I just knew something had happened.
Thank you. No further questions.
Examination.
Yes, Your Honor. At this time, I'll be retreating Exhibit 2, unless you'd like to use it for something. Yes. You'd like to use it? Oh, yeah. Okay, I'll leave movements.
Proceed, please. Good morning.
Good morning.
Now, you mentioned on direct that you're a mentalist, right?
Yeah, that's part of the act, is that I read minds. Sometimes the human volunteers do.
Right, because you don't just work with animals, you also work with people.
Sometimes, yeah.
Now, you would actually consider yourself to be a good performer, right?
I like to think so.
In fact, you would actually say you're the best performer.
I'd say I'm one of the best right now. No one does what I do.
But correct me if I'm wrong, you also believe that good performers, they make fantastic liars. Isn't that right?
Oh, yeah. When you're up there on the stage, you really want to sell it. So I'll let you guys in on a trade secret. When I'm up there with the animals, they don't actually talk to me.
But once again, you also do this with people, correct?
Sometimes, I'm sure that it's easy to tell people what they like to hear.
Well, if you're one of the best performers, doesn't that also make you one of the best liars?
So some of these girls, they ask me to see marriage in my future, and I say, yeah, but it's not like I lie in my daily life, of course not.
Well, let's look at why you're here in court today. Because you actually volunteered to testify for LFC, correct?
Not exactly. They asked if I'd come in, and I said yes.
Well, to be clear, you volunteered, you weren't subpoenaed, right?
What is it?
Well, you came in court by yourself, correct?
Yes, I came here today alone.
By your own choice?
Yeah, of course.
Because you consider LFC to be home, right?
Well, I've been working there for 10 years. Yeah.
In fact, the owner, she says that you're the face of the company, right?
Yeah, she does.
And that you're one of their best acts.
She does say that. That's true, and I agree.
After what happened on July 14th, you think that your name's been dragged in the mud, right?
A little bit, I had a couple of cancellations. It was unfortunate.
Right. You're losing money.
A little bit, yeah.
So that's why you believe that if LFC sounds to be not liable, your career trajectory returns back to normal, isn't that right?
I hope so.
Now, I just want to move on to what we heard today. Because you said that you had a conversation with Mr. Max Billing, right?
Right, I did.
This was at a shooting range.
It was.
We were talking about guns and magic.
That's correct.
But let's be clear here, there were no cameras at that shooting range, right?
No, now that you mention it, not that I can think of.
There was no one else there that could have heard this conversation.
No, sorry. Thinking back on it now, I don't think I I saw anyone else.
So, correct me if I'm wrong, that means you're the only person that can tell us about this conversation today, right?
I guess so.
So I just want to move on to something you didn't really mention. A talk you had with Angel Ashmore, the armor of LFC, on July 13th.
Okay, yeah.
Now, they were talking about bullets and ammo, right?
I believe so, yeah. We were having a party that night, but Angel was, she was taking it real serious, not drinking at all, and she was telling me she got in a shipment, bullets and ammo for the act.
Well, let's be clear here, because you were drinking.
Yeah, I was. I like to have a good time.
Drinking to the point where by the end of the night, you actually passed out on the table, right?
Oh, well, that is where I fell asleep then.
And after you did that, you actually don't remember much from that night, do you?
Let's see, I remember the beginning, and then I fell asleep real early. My bedtime is 8:45, so nothing beyond that point, no.
Right, your memory's fuzzy of that night.
I would say so.
So looking there, all you really remember is that conversation with Angel, right?
That's the only specific thing. I remember we were playing poker, but it was sort of a spur of the moment thing, not much else.
Bullets and ammo, you said that you take bullets, right?
Sure, I said that, I do have my license, and that if she wanted to get rid of them, then I would be happy to take them. I do.
But Angel, they actually kept both the bullets and ammo, right?
That's correct. She said she had bullets and blanks, and that somebody might be able to use the bullets in the future, so she was gonna hold on.
Well, let's actually talk about the future. Because the next day, you actually saw the bullets and blanks, both boxes, inside the prop tent, right?
That's where we saw our props. That's where I saw it.
You still saw Angel sorting through these bullets and blanks, just moments before the trip.
I don't know if it was moments before the trip, no.
Well, it was that same day.
It was earlier that morning, that's right.
You still saw him sorting through those bullets.
Right, she was going through the boxes.
Well, let's talk about what happened after. Because you actually heard Angel talking, right?
I believe so, yeah.
Talking to the security guard with LFC.
Right, that's when I was backstage with him. There was a security guard there, and then later on, I ran into Angel, and Angel and the security guard got to talk.
And just to be clear here, that security guard told Angel, how could you let this happen? This was your responsibility. That's what that security hearsay. Better respond, Your Honor? Your Honor, under 801D2D, this is actually going to be from a member of the company, meaning that this is the vicarious statements of LFC, our party opponent.
Your Honor, if I may respond, there's been a pretrial order on the people who work at LFC who qualify under vicarious liability. That security guard isn't one of them. Their statements are hearsay as they can't be attributed to the defendant.
They respond, Your Honor. Regardless of the pretrial statement, the language of the law is clear. If you're an employee of that company, you do have your statements vicariously followed through the party opponent rule.
Your Honor, if I may respond, I can read to you the vicarious liability. It's been stated that the only
What
employees.
are you reading?
It's the pretrial order. It's pretrial order number 1. And it states that plaintiff moved to hold defendant vicariously liable for the conduct of the following current and former defendant employees: Angel Ashmore, Nick Snappy, and Legacy Lindbergh. That security guard is not one of those.
They respond, Your Honor. That deals with issues of vicarious liability, meaning that their actions are what ultimately contribute to the burden of today's case. That has nothing to do with Rule 801D2D, which just talks about the employees of that company.
Your Honor, if I may respond, it has to do with which employees can be attributed to the defendant, and the defendant's statements can come in. And if that security guard isn't attributable to this defendant, their statements can't come in under 801D2.
Short response, Your Honor. Okay. Once again, that just deals with vicarious liability, not the issue of hearsay.
I'm gonna overrule the objection.
Yes, Your Honor. Yes, Your Honor. Just to be clear with what that statement was, how could you let this happen? This was your responsibility. That's what you heard, right?
Yeah, I believe that's what he said.
I just want to move on to one final thing. That document right in front of you there.
I see it.
Now, what exactly did you read on direct?
Max and Gabby understand that magic can be dangerous. I think that's what I read.
But you actually left out the second half. They cannot sue us for negligence, but suing for recklessness, that's okay. That's what it says right there, right?
but suing for recklessness, okay. Yeah, that's the language.
No further questions, Your Honor.
Redirect.
No redirect for this witness, Your Honor, we just ask that this legal and back to us. And also retain it too.
See, but at this point, I believe we're meeting some rearranging of the courtroom, Your Honor, switching out. And,
Yes.
we gave
There's a
break.
10-minute.
5,000.
It's actually not in this case, it's particularly based on the witnesses that are called in the trial, so there is no need for a break in this particular case. Unless Your Honor would like a few minutes to write.
So I think at this point, we have to fill out.
Yeah, I believe the score would like at least a little bit.
Okay,
That's
so we're gonna take a 5-minute recess,
Sounds good, Your Honor.
meeting at 10:25. 10:25.
Yes, Your Honor.
Oh, we do that, so, and that is true, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. Oh. Oh. Which one is it? Really? Oh, I didn't know. I thought it's that just dragged on. Oh,
Yes, Your Honor, the plaintiff is back and ready to proceed.
Okay.
Same for the defense, Your Honor.
And we don't do any preliminaries at this point, we just begin with the witness.
Just head into it, Your Honor, that's exactly right.
Please call your witness.
Yes, Your Honor, the plaintiff calls Emery Everhart. May I proceed, Your Honor?
Please.
Good morning.
Good morning to you.
Can you introduce yourself to the members of the jury?
Yes, ma'am, I can. My name is Emery Everhart.
Where are you from?
I'm from Birmingham, Alabama. You know, actually just met this sweet girl outside in a blue jacket, said she's from Coleman. Small world.
What do you do for a living?
Guns.
I'm sorry, can you elaborate a little on that?
Oh, yes, I'm a firearm safety consultant, making sure that the widespread use of firearms is as safe as possible.
Well, ma'am, what does that work involve specifically?
I teach people how to properly use their guns as well as implement risk management techniques to make it less dangerous.
How'd you become a firearm safety consultant?
I grew up around guns. I mean, my daddy took hunting season more seriously than Christmas, and he taught all of us how to use our weapons, and I want to do the same thing. So I got my BS in criminal justice from Georgia State. That's the guns part. And then I got my master's in education from the University of Georgia. That's the teaching part.
So what'd you do after earning those degrees?
I joined the police force.
Did you receive any special training in how to handle firearms there?
Yes, ma'am. I had 8 years of firearm training and experience before I moved on to become an instructor for 8 classes of officers. Now, teaching men how to confidently and properly use their guns so they're not skittish, which can cause injury.
So what brings you to court today?
Well, I was asked to analyze the circumstances surrounding Mr. Maximilian's death during the bullet catch trick, as well as determine if Langford Family Carnival violated safety practices.
How'd you go about making that determination?
Well, I use a standard method in my field. It's a post-incident safety evaluation.
What materials did you review?
Well, I looked at the affidavits of one Gabby Gray and Angel Ashmore, as well as exhibits connected to the case, and of course, my own knowledge of firearms and firearm experience.
Okay, so let's go ahead and talk about that bullet catch trick that you mentioned. Have you ever seen that trick in person?
Yes, ma'am, I have. It's very dangerous.
Did it ever be executed safely?
Yes, it can if you use the 3 main fail safes. It's the NRA.
The NRA, can you tell us what that stands for?
Yes, it's 3 parts. The N is no real bullets. The R is repairs, and the A is angles.
Okay, so let's take those one at a time. Let's start with the A. No real bullets. Man, if you're not using real bullets in the bullet catch trick, what are you supposed to use?
Blanks.
Well, ma'am, I'm gonna approach with what's marked as Exhibit 7. Your Honor, if that's all right with you. What does this look like to you?
Yes, this is a picture with some blanks and a bullet.
Your Honor, the plaintiff moves to enter Exhibit 7 for stipulation. All objections have been heard.
No objection, Your Honor.
So, ma'am, using that photo, can you show members of the jury the difference between bullets and blanks?
Yes, ma'am, I can. Well, if you look at this picture, you can see that there's a difference between these 2 items. And this one down here, that's a real bullet, and it's made up of 2 main parts. This silver bit, that's the shell case. It's full of gunpowder. And the red bit at the front, that's the actual bullet. So when you load this into a gun and fire it, the shell casing drops and the gunpowder, well, it shoots that bullet forward and it lodges into your target.
Well, what about those blanks? How do those work?
Well, the blanks, I mean, they're all barred, no bite. It's that same shell casing with the gunpowder, but without the bullet at the top. So when you load this into the gun and fire it, the shell casing, it still drops, and you get that same bang from the gunpowder, but nothing is being shot out of the gun.
All right, so let's talk about that R for repairs. And what repairs are needed for the bullet catch strip?
Yes, ma'am, that's a deep cleaning and maintenance of the gun.
Why is
I have
that?
an objection under 7. Have you heard?
Please.
Your Honor, specifically, it's to the question that was asked in relation to the bullet catch strip. Your Honor, we've heard foundation that this witness is an expert generally in firearm safety, and we're fine with her talking about that expertise. But going forward and talking more about the specifics of how the strip was designed and how to make the trip safe, that's a separate area of expertise that she hasn't laid foundation.
Have you heard, Your Honor? Yes, Your Honor, pre-trial order number 5, that's what I'm looking at right now, if I could read you some of the language. Yes, Your Honor, this regards the expert testimony of Emery Everhard and Tempest Traffic Director in this case. Your Honor, it says that both sides agree that there is no objection under Rule 702 to the conclusions that are disclosed in their report. Your Honor, in this expert report, which we laid foundation for at this time, she discusses at length what's required for the bullet catch trick to be safe under firearm safety protocol that's required for every field, not just the service.
Response, Your Honor. We certainly agree that she discloses how to use firearms safely. What she does not disclose is how that specifically applies to the bullet catch trick. Your Honor, that's an opinion based on trick safety and design. That goes a step further than her expertise.
Read me, the stipulation again.
Yes, Your Honor. It says both sides are anticipating a witness to provide expert testimony and have moved to admit their respective testimony under 702. Both motions are granted in part. Both witnesses have disclosed conclusions under Rule 702 in their expert reports, and those disclosed conclusions satisfy Rule 702. Therefore, all Rule 702 objections regarding conclusions disclosed in
So
every.
isn't she testifying as to what are her conclusions?
If I may, Your Honor, I can clarify.
Yeah.
That same order, the second part that counsel stopped at, says as for conclusions not disclosed in the expert's report, under the disclosure rules in this jurisdiction, any such conclusions are inadmissible. That's the objection we're raising, that this was not disclosed in this expert's report, and because of it, she can't offer that conclusion to the members of the jury.
May I be heard, Your Honor? This is disclosed in the expert report. She makes.
Do I have that in the file?
Yes, Your Honor. Unfortunately, the trial liner isn't tabbed, so it takes to find it. That's-
We're running out of time.
Yeah, the court's apologies for that, Your Honor, but when it comes to this expert's conclusions, Your Honor, she's testified that she analyzed the circumstances of Maximilian's death when it came to him performing the bullet catch trick. That's why she was hired for this case. That's why she was retained. And it goes specifically into the contents of her expert report. And because of that, she can and must disclose this opinion to the jury.
I'm going.
Yeah, sure.
So, ma'am, when we're talking about the R and the NRA fail-safe method, ma'am, those repairs, why are those important for the bullet catch?
Right, as I might have said before, that's deep cleaning and maintenance of the gun. And that's important because, I mean, even with blanks, it's very dangerous. A gun is like a high-powered leaf blower. If there's any debris or anything inside the barrel, it gets shot out with an extreme force. It acts like that missing bullet.
And that third fail-safe, ma'am, angles. What angles do you mean when you say that those are important for the trick?
Well, even if you're implementing those first two fail-safes, you should still never actually point the gun at someone.
Well, then how would you conduct the bullet catch trick without pointing the gun at someone?
You know what, let me just show you.
All right, Your Honor, would it be okay for Ms. Everhart to step down and piece of the law?
We haven't seen this quite yet, but no objection at this time.
Right, I got a flashlight in my bag somewhere.
Okay.
Your Honor, do I have your permission to just move and see what's going on?
I'm gonna hand this to you right there.
All right, thank you.
You could meet me over on this side. Now, I would like you to turn on that flashlight and point it right between my eyes. Don't worry, it's like not gonna actually hurt.
Okay, good. All right, well, what are we doing with this here?
Wonderful. Now, as you can see from your angle, it looks like she's pointing this flashlight right at my head. And if this was the gun, well, I'd be dead as a doornail. So if I was the armor in this case, I'd have her make this adjustment. Just come up to you, sure.
Okay.
Now, from where you're sitting, it looks like she's still pointing it towards my head. However, if we, now, don't jump out of your boots with this one. Kill the lights. And go more, there we are. Now, if you follow the trajectory of that beam of light, it's going right past my head to the wall there. The bullet would be whizzing on by my ear. And house lights up. Wonderful. This is the illusion part of the act. That's how you make it safe. I can take that back to the wall.
Thanks for the demonstration, now you can retake your seat. Thank you. All right, so let's compare those safety standards we just discussed to the preparation that took place for the actual trick itself. And do you know who was responsible for maintaining the gun for the bullet catch trick?
Yes, ma'am. That was the prop master and armor, Angel Ashmore.
Well, ma'am, that first fail-safe, and for no real bullets. Do you know if Mr. Ashmore kept the real bullets and the blanks separate from each other?
No, ma'am, he did not. He actually purchased the bullets and blanks together and then kept them on site. Live rounds should never be even in the premises of where the prop gun is being used, let alone stored there.
What about that second fail-safe, repairs? Did Mr. Ashmore say that he cleaned the gun thoroughly?
No, no, ma'am. Actually, in reviewing his statements, he only references cleaning the gun quickly. Nothing about a consistent deep cleaning.
That third fail-safe, the angles. Did you find any evidence that Mr. Ashmore instructed the performers on how to aim the gun, just like we did?
No, ma'am. No, I did not. I was actually concerned with how little time Angel spent with the performers. You know, teach them how to do the trick and making sure that they were comfortable.
Well, ma'am, was there any explanation as to why you didn't find evidence of them fulfilling those safety protocols?
Well, yes, ma'am. Well, you got one person doing two jobs, Angel Ashmore. They were both prop master and armor. And when you have one person doing both of these, especially without an assistant, it's up to the carnival owner to oversee and double check all of their work. And I found no evidence of that occurred.
So what was your final conclusion?
Well, Lambert Family Carnival and their armor, Angel Ashmore, were responsible for the gun, bullet catch trick, and max safety. Because they didn't follow correct firearm safety procedures, well, they failed in their responsibility.
Thank you for your time, ma'am. Your Honor, I bet.
Thank you. Questions, yeah?
Yes, Your Honor, may I have a seat?
Please.
Ron, before we begin, actually offer exhibit 4 into evidence, per se the stipulations, we agree that exhibit 4 can come in without any additional foundation.
That's right, understand.
Afternoon, ma'am.
Good afternoon, you two.
Now, we want to start by talking about your investigation in this case, all right?
Go right ahead.
Because, ma'am, the truth is, in this investigation, you were limited, right?
No, sir, no, I wasn't limited at all.
You considered one possibility for the version of the facts in this case, right?
I'm sorry, I don't know what you mean.
I'll clarify, ma'am. You considered the possibility that this company mishandled that gun somewhat.
Yes, sir, that's absolutely correct.
Ma'am, we can agree that there are a couple of aspects to this trick and this incident that your investigation just ignored, right?
No, sir, I would not agree with that.
Well, let's talk about it. Because certainly, ma'am, you did discuss some information regarding what happens with the gun beforehand, right?
Yes, I did.
Cleaning,
Yes,
storage,
the whole 9 yards.
maintenance,
Yep,
all those things, they happen before the gun goes out on stage, right?
Yes, before the gun goes on stage, during practice, all the time.
And then there's a second aspect to this, which is how that trick is actually executed, right?
Yes, sir?
What happens with the performers while they're actually on stage.
Yes, their performance is separate.
Man, that conclusion you just gave on direct examination, it was that the carnival didn't execute firearm safety properly. That was the conclusion?
Yes, sir.
Critically, man, the conclusion was not the positioning of the performers was off, right?
It was their work as a whole in maintaining the gun. It wasn't proper, leading to this incident.
Bring you back to my question, man. The conclusion was not the positioning of the performers was off, right?
No, sir, that wasn't the sole reason.
The conclusion was not their angles were off, right?
No, sir?
The conclusion was not what the performers did. Well, that made this trick more dangerous.
No, that wasn't all.
Frankly, man, the reason that is because you're not qualified to talk about magic trick safety and design, are you?
Yes, sir, I am.
Man, it's your testimony today that your expertise is in trick safety and design.
Well, it's not trick, safety, and design. It's firearms and entertainment. Movies, TV shows, plays, and performances such as this.
Let me clarify that. The design of this trick, you're not qualified to tell us whether the mechanics of it are safe, right?
I don't design tricks, no, sir.
You're qualified to tell us about the fire.
Absolutely right.
Well, let's talk about what might have made that trick a little bit more dangerous in this case. Because, man, like you told us, you have a couple hard and fast rules when it comes to handling fire, right?
Yes, I do.
One of those hard and fast rules is don't point it at someone, right?
Yes, sir, that's the A of NRA.
Man, you understand that this trick, it intentionally had Max have a gun pointed directly at him.
Well, that wasn't necessary for the trick, but unfortunately, that's what was done.
That's what was done when they performed it, true?
Yes, sir.
Man, you understand that it wasn't just pointed at him, it was pointed at his head.
Absolutely. It was extremely dangerous.
Man, you know that Mr. Maximilian agreed to do this trick with that gun pointed at his head.
No, sir, I don't know if he agreed to having a gun in his head.
And you know he performed.
Yes, sir.
Now I want to talk about something else, because you also know that a rule when handling firearms is certainly to protect yourself, right?
Right. Don't be reckless with the gun. Don't act skittish of it. It could hurt you.
You have to exercise care for yourself if you're handling the firearm, true?
Absolutely.
Man, I want to talk about whether that was done in this case. You have a binder in front of you there. Can you flip to exhibit 4 for me? Just let me know when you're there.
It's a lot of pages.
Of course, it's going to be towards the back.
Thank you. It's a gun in a binder.
Your Honor, holding up that pre-admitted exhibit 4. Man, you recognize this as the gun that was used during that bullet catch strike, right?
Yes, sir. It's a pretty standard issue Glock 22.
Fair and accurate picture of.
Looks to me.
Ma'am, to your knowledge, Mr. Maximilian, he actually had this gun for 11 days prior to that incident, right?
Yes, sir.
He got to start practicing with it on July 4th.
Well, not quite. Maximilian said he was never given the blanks with the gun, so he couldn't practice.
So he couldn't fire the gun, but you're aware he was able to practice with having the gun.
I guess they could hold it, yes.
And we want to talk about some of the things that are noticeable about this gun, because you can see it's got some scratches on it.
Oh, absolutely. If you look at the top part, that's the slide. There's some pretty deep scratches along it, and the grip is wearing down.
You could say it's got some wear and tear on it.
I would say that.
It's got some smudges on it.
Yes.
And you think that these are obvious signs that this gun maybe shouldn't be used in this kind of trick.
Well, yes, if you're familiar with weapons, you can tell that it takes some use.
That's right, man. You think anyone who has some exposure to guns would notice this, right?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Maximilian, he had some exposure with guns, didn't he?
Yes, he had performed tricks with the gun before.
So, man, having having practiced with this gun that you just told us had some obvious signs that it shouldn't be used. You know, he still decided.
Objection, Your Honor, counsel testifying, may I be heard? Yes, Your Honor, the question that's raised was, Mr. Maximilian, having practiced with this gun that had obvious signs of use, Your Honor, that beginning part, Mr. Maximilian definitively practicing with that gun, that's actually contrary to what this expert testified to.
Response, Your Honor?
Why don't you just rephrase the question?
Sure, Your Honor. Ma'am, you testified earlier that Mr. Maximilian had practice sessions with this gun 11 days prior to the crime.
Not quite sessions, wasn't ever able to fire the gun, just holding it. I guess making sure it looked good.
But you know this gun was at the carnival, right?
Yes, sir.
With Mr. Maximilian, right?
Yes.
Ma'am, so you know that Mr. Maximilian had access to this gun,
Yes, sir, he did.
and still, he decided to do that trick.
Yes, he did.
No further questions. Permission to publish is in the fourth year.
Nobody writes it on, we're good to go. Several hard to be exclusive.
Thank you.
Your Honor, I have to push it, just that one exhibit.
I'll holster the paper gun.
I appreciate it, several hard.
All right, so now, next witness.
Yes, Your Honor. We call Mr. Kevin Stroud. You may proceed.
Please.
Good morning, sir. Would you please introduce yourself to the members of the jury?
Of course. Hi, how you doing? I'm Tempest Trapp.
What do you do for a living, Mr. Trout?
I consult with magicians on trick design and safety as well.
How'd you get into that line of work?
I have to take you back to when I was real young. I went to see the Conjuring for the first time with my dad. Parents, magic. I knew I wanted to be a part of those tricks. But I didn't have performing chops like you see with everyone up there. So I got to make the magic happen in a different way. I went backstage and learned how those tricks works. Now I do that for a living.
So how'd you get involved with the matters of this case?
Oh, well, I was hired by the defense to do a safety analysis on this bullet catch trick and see whether or not it was performed responsibly.
Let's get into some of that content, sir. You said you consult magicians on trick safety and design. How do you do that?
Well, you have to look at the magic trick. I use my background and experience. Look at the trick. How can we make this safer? How can we lower the risks for what we're doing?
Could you give us an example?
Yeah. Let's say Harry Houdini came up to me and said he wants to be trapped in a cage underwater. It's my job how to figure out how to make that less risky. Can we put it in shallow water to make sure there's not as big of a risk of drowning? Can we put a key nearby so he has a fail-safe just in case the trick fails? Things like that.
Sir, how are you qualified to consult people on trick safety and design?
I got a degree in history with a focus in math. I also have a master's in anthropology. There, I focused on the study, safety, and logistics of magic. And now, I teach the science of magic at the university level.
Sir, I want to talk about your method in this case. You said you do something called a safety analysis. What is that?
That's where I take a look at the trick, like the bullet catch, and I compare it to the safety procedures of the industry. Then, I give my analysis on it.
Is that a reliable method in your field?
Absolutely, sir. It's standard in the field of magic. It's also very similar to what people do in the performing arts industry for safety in there as well.
And were you able to reliably apply it to the facts in this case?
Absolutely, sir. Yes, I was.
Well, let's talk a little bit more about that. Sir, what conclusion were you able to come to?
I found that this bullet catch trick, even when you prepare it properly, it could be incredibly dangerous.
Why'd you find that this trick can be dangerous even if done properly?
This trick violates the cardinal rule of firearm safety. You are pointing a gun directly at another person, and that is deadly.
Why is it deadly, sir?
The gun could misfire. Something could get jammed in the barrel, and then an explosion could happen. You could accidentally mix up blanks for real bullets. It's a disaster waiting to happen. There's a reason why gun course safety procedures say you do not point a gun at someone you do not want to kill.
So we talked about the dangers. I want to talk about whether Mr. Maximilian was aware of some of those risks.
Sure.
Sir, did you find any evidence that suggested he was?
Yes, sir, I did. Based on my review of the affidavits, I found evidence that Max was warned about some of the dangers of this trick.
Who warned him?
First, his assistant. When the possibility of this trick was brought up, they told him that this could be dangerous. Something bad could happen.
Did you find evidence that that was the only person who warned him about this?
There was more, sir. The prop master, the one orchestrating the props, the guns. When they found out Max was doing this trick, they sat down and had a conversation with him about it.
What did he say?
He told them even if we prepared things properly, it could still be dangerous.
Sir, do you know if Max had any practice with the gun he was going to use before that trick?
Yes, sir. From my review of the evidence, he was able to practice with the gun 11 days before the trick, just without any blank cartridges.
Would you be able to recognize a picture of that gun if I showed it to you?
Absolutely, sir. I reviewed it in my investigation and analysis.
If you'll flip over to exhibit 4 for me, it's going to be at the back of that binder. Just let me know.
I am there.
You recognize that, sir?
Yes, sir. This is the gun I reviewed. This was used in the bullet catch trick.
Is it a fair and accurate picture of it?
Yep, looks to be so to me.
Your Honor, this is already in evidence. Sir, what do you see on that gun?
Got some scratches, smudges right here. Yeah, it looks used.
So you said Max was warned about the dangers of this trick, and he had access to that gun. Do you know if he still decided to do it?
Absolutely, so we all know what happened. It's tragic.
Well, then I want to talk about whether there were ways to minimize some of the risks that came with this trick. So do you know any ways that this could have been made safer?
Absolutely. Throughout the history of magic, we've used this little thing called perspective to change tricks and make them a bit safer.
What do you mean by perspective, sir?
You can trick the audience into making them see something that's not actually happening. It'd be easier to step down and explain it if I could, like we talked about earlier.
Sure, sir. Your Honor, permission for the witness to step down and demonstrate.
If I could get your help as well as Miss App.
Permission for the audience to enter the well as well.
We're gonna have to improvise a little bit. I wanted to bring in a flashlight, but I dropped it. I think someone else might have picked it up.
Your Honor, I might move about a bit just to see what's going on.
All right, so I got you two, step back here. Okay, Mr. Jones, if you could stand right there, you're gonna be in place of the magician. And Miss Abbing, if I could have you right there. Okay, Miss Abbing, never do this. Could you pretend like you're pointing a gun at Mr. Jones's head?
I sure can.
All right, now from what I reviewed, this is how the bullet catch trick was set up. As you can clearly see, if anything goes wrong right there, it would be dead.
Objection, Your Honor, lack of foundation. Could I be heard to that?
Yeah.
Your Honor, the expert is testifying as of now that this setup that he's constructed with these people in the courtroom, while delightful to see, Your Honor, it is the exact setup of what happened during the bullet catch trick, but we haven't verified whether or not this is the exact distance that they were at, if this is the exact setup of where the two people were positioned on the stage. We need that foundation if we're going to be able to do this right.
Yes, Your Honor, that foundation is certainly already on the record. In fact, we've already agreed that that gun was aimed at Mr. Maximilian's head. We're not offering this to show any sign of certain distance between the two performers. What's important here is where the gun was aimed and where it was positioned. And he said he reviewed affidavits that indicate that the gun was pointed at Mr. Maximilian's head. No further foundation is required.
Could I be heard, please? Yes, Your Honor, if I recall the expert's testimony correctly, he said specifically that this setup was just about how it went. Your Honor, that wording, as vague as it is, Your Honor, it might mislead the jury into thinking that this is the exact distance as opposed to further away that would have reduced some of that risk.
Why don't you answer by ruling with just about, I see this as a demonstration by our witness of what he, a point he's making, not recreating the incident. And the jury will be instructed that this is not a recreation of the incident, but a demonstration by our expert of the point he's trying to make.
Yes, Your Honor. Sir, if you can continue letting us know.
Right. So this looks just about like what the trick setup was. You see Miss Avenue, she has a gun, a fake gun, pointed towards your head. But with just that little bit of perspective, we could change the trick, make it a good bit safer.
How so?
Miss Avenue, if I could just move your hand slightly. If we just go like this, move your hand back a bit and point up. Now, from the audience's perspective, it still looks like she's still pointing the gun towards his head. But if we follow the trajectory of a hand, we can see right here, goes right past his shoulder. That way, if anything is coming out of that gun, shouldn't be as deadly.
Is there anything else they can do to make this a little bit safer?
Absolutely. You could potentially make it a bit easier for Miss Avenue. Let's say all of this stayed the same. That stage, put a tie right here. That way, she's not even eyeball. The audience wouldn't see.
Thank you, sir. You go ahead and take your seat.
Thank you, and thank you, Miss Avenue.
Don't wanna get in your way, sir.
Sorry about that, ma'am.
No,
Sir, can you just tell us what you ultimately were able to conclude for this trial?
Yes. Look, this trick was incredibly dangerous. And from what I reviewed of the evidence and affidavits, Max had some warning. But it didn't look like there were any attempts to change the trick like I just taught you. And the way it was done on July 14th, it was irresponsible for a magician.
Thank you, sir. No further questions, Your Honor.
yes, Your Honor. Okay, so Judge, I think we should have your co-counsel stand up with me again. Sure. Absolutely. And just your co-counsel, please.
Sounds good. I'm not even.
And then if you could stand just about where you were going to this, with your hand outstretched in that gun position. All right, walk it. Certainly, ma'am, and I'll try not to get in the way. Good morning.
Good morning, ma'am.
Sir, I want to pick up right where you left off with this demonstration you were showing us, because there was a part of it that I noticed it seemed important, sir. You said, to make this safer, what I would do is I would approach, and I would have the magician move the gun, right?
That's right. Move a hand back a bit. Use that perspective. From the audience, it's hard to kind of tell the depth, but she'd be moving it away from the head.
That's right. And what I noticed is that she didn't move her hand herself. No, you came in and you helped her figure out how to angle the gun, right?
Absolutely, yeah.
Sir, we can agree. Thank you, you take your seat. We can agree that help that you provided to your attorney in this case, well, sir, there's no evidence you found that the performers were provided that same help by the armorer in this case?
No, the armor was in charge of preparing it. The magicians, they were the one putting it on, deciding the rules.
Hold on, sir. I want to make sure I'm getting this right for the members of the jury. See, your testimony that the armorer is not responsible for helping the magicians practice the trick?
They should absolutely provide the gun, the bullets when they can, but the performance, the magicians, they're the ones who know magic.
Sir, that wasn't quite my question. Is it or is it not your testimony that the armorer is supposed to help the magicians practice for the trick? Yes,
Armor should absolutely help. Be there in the process. Yes, ma'am.
be there in the process, just like you were when you were giving us that visual.
Absolutely.
Sir, let's compare your credibility to that of Miss Everhart's. Because, sir, you're aware there was another expert in this case, right?
Yes, Miss Emery Everhart. That's correct.
Emery Everhart, you read her report, true?
Absolutely. I read the report to come to my own conclusions in today's case as well.
And you actually disagree with her report, true?
Yes, that's right, ma'am.
Sir, let's talk about the credentials, because you know that she spent 8 years on the force, true?
Yes, ma'am.
You know that she's testified about firearm safety before.
Absolutely. That's
No.
correct.
You know she's taught firearm safety.
Yes, ma'am. She's a firearm safety expert. That's correct.
Sir, you don't have any experience on the police force, do you?
No, ma'am. My specialty isn't in firearm safety. It's in trick design, like I told you all earlier.
So you were just talking about angling firearms a moment ago. You've never taught firearm safety, have you?
Not personally, no.
Sir, you've actually never once testified as an expert witness before this trial.
That's correct.
Well, so welcome to court. I think it's true that you're auditioning for the career of expert witness. Do I have that right?
You have to be specific. My dad told me all of life is an audition. You always gotta be on your best behavior.
Well, sir, that's good advice from your father. I can clarify. Sir, it's true that you're hoping to pivot your career away from just helping magicians do their tricks into the field of expert witnessing, right, sir?
That's correct.
And you're aware that it's a lucrative field, right?
Yes, I believe so.
Sir, you know that in some trials, regardless of the outcome, there's experts who are still paid handsome amounts of money, right?
I believe so.
But sir, the thing is, you have a direct monetary interest in the outcome of this case.
That's right. I hope to do well as an expert here, do well as an expert in the future.
Sir, I don't want to breeze past that because you've been contacted by another client, right?
That's correct.
That client said that if the defendant prevails in this case because of your helpful testimony, they'll hire.
That's right.
They'll hire you for at least 3 lawsuits if the defendant prevails today.
That's correct, ma'am. You have that right.
So the work that you get, if the defendant prevails in this case, you say that it's instrumental to your career, right?
Absolutely. I want to show everyone my expertise, this niche, trick design, how I'm good at it, and what I can tell you about.
So the fact of the matter is, if we're being honest, you need that work because your career as a magician, it did not work out for you, did it?
As a magician, no, I told you, I didn't have the performance yet. That's why I went backstage.
I mean, sir, you stated that you work as a consultant for magicians now, but the truth is you wanted to pursue magic full time. You loved it, right?
I used to, yeah,
But you failed at close-up magic.
I did,
You failed at cold reading.
I did,
You failed at stage magic.
and it wasn't pretty.
So you pivoted from those failures to work behind the scenes, right?
That's right, I can put my mind to this, not my mouth.
Sir, you failed there too.
You'd have to be a bit specific, ma'am.
I can be specific, sir. You believe that you were kicked out of that line of work because of maximility, right?
That's correct,
Sir, that's the decedent in this case.
yeah, it was Max.
Sir, you think that the decedent in this case stole your trick designs, right?
We had some bad news, that's right.
Sir, not just bad history, you accused Mr. Maximilian of stealing your trick designs, yes or no?
That's right, it was messy.
You complained of that, right?
I did.
But your peers, they weren't supportive, were they?
No, ma'am, they were not.
No, sir, they told you you're jealous of Max. That's what they accused you of.
That's what they told me, that's right.
Sir, every single magician you were working with, they abandoned you, didn't they?
A lot of them did, yeah.
Not just a lot of them, sir, in your words, every single magician.
It was a big career change. Yes, ma'am.
They abandoned you.
That's right.
So you're testifying in a case against the estate of the person who you say stole your designs. Do I have that right?
That's right. I'm testifying here, trying to tell you what I know about that trick.
You're here testifying against the estate of the person who nearly, I'm using your word here, excommunicated you from the magic community. Do I have that right?
Yes, ma'am. I don't want to talk too much over his past, but that's
Well, sir, you talked a lot of ill will about him in your report, didn't you?
Mention your argument.
With Your Honor. Sir, I know it's your first time as an expert, but let's see if we can get this right together.
okay.
Would you say that it's okay for an expert to be biased?
Everyone is biased, ma'am.
Everyone is biased, so it's no thing for you to be biased?
I have some bias in my own way. I gotta try and separate it, look at the facts, and tell you what I know. It's important for everyone to be aware of it. That's why I put it all in my report.
All right, so this next question is real simple. Is it okay for an expert witness to be biased? Yes or no?
Yes, ma'am. Everyone's biased.
Thank you. Nothing further.
Given the time constraints, Your Honor, we have no redirect for the witness, and with your permission, you can set that.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor. It's a pleasure.
So now I believe we're in a position where the scores, finish the score sheet and then we're done.
Exactly, Your Honor.
We're gonna give you some pieces.
Yes, Your Honor.
So give us a few minutes to finish your scores, at least we. Okay, everyone submitted their. Fine. Begin with comments.
Okay, hey guys, my name's Marvin Vallejo again. I'm a criminal defense attorney. I really enjoy all of you guys' performances, starting from the opening through to the very end of the procedure. I understand that you guys have had this material just a very short time. Nevertheless, the level of preparation today shows that you guys really spent a lot of time, even within this short window. Some of the notes that I took down, I thought all of the witnesses were very excellent. I think the experts were very good and very well prepared. I really love the demos, especially the lights going off. The first two witnesses also very committed to their performance. I thought that they were all very credible. I thought that there was excellent objections from everybody, both parties. I thought that there was excellent commitment to the theory of the case throughout. And yesterday when I was judging, I didn't really see that come through. At some point, some of the teams totally dropped the ball on that. This time it was pretty consistent. I think you guys took the last night to really prepare and like really got it together. So I was really impressed by that. So the excellent openings, following through with your case theory from the opening, impeachment by both parties. It was done excellent by both, especially the very last portion. So congrats. I thought that was excellent. That basically got the witness to testify against himself, kind of. So good job on that. Nevertheless, I think that the very last witness did a really good job. Other than that, excellent objections as well. I think there was an excellent objection to the demo, as far as like, is it more probative than prejudicial, even though you were overruled, but it was still a pretty good objection. What else?
I'm so sorry to jump in and interrupt. So we've got a group of folks who are waiting outside. They're instructed that they're all supposed to come into this room at the same time. So we want to wrap up our comments here, obviously, before letting any other folks in. I just want to make sure we've got a chance to hear from everybody.
Cool. Okay. So that's all that I'm gonna say. Congrats, good prep. Good luck with the rest of the company.
Thank you all so much for judging.
All right.
Sure, quick comments. I would mimic everything that was said by my colleague, especially impressed on Mr. Jones use super well. The way that he paused to allow the witness to testify, that really drove the idea home, what you were trying to get across. But that's not to say that all of the other comments that were made by my colleague here, I wouldn't repeat, because excellent job, everyone. Council, great place.
Just a few quick things, I'll try to keep it global. We had a lot of witnesses today who are performers, deceivers, or illusionists. It's a common problem, especially in this jurisdiction. I have clients who are in the industry. I just had a case where the opposing party is an actress. There's, it's a special problem. It was absolutely good tactics to bring that up on cross since it wasn't fronted on direct. There's a simple solution for this that needs to be employed that no one seems to be aware of, so I'll briefly raise it. Just say, I know the difference between performing and testifying. I took an oath today and I intend to honor it. Does that mean for sure that the finder of fact will believe you? Hell to no, but that's their job. And if you simply get that out, whether you can work equally on cross or on direct if you're fronting it. If you do that, it eliminates the room for quibbling, and then you can move on and have a smoother trial. As far as expert witnesses, you've heard this before, don't try to out-expert your expert. They probably know something about their expertise that you don't, no matter how much prep work you put into it. I saw some examples, or at least I believe that was broken today. And, interruptions. I didn't see a lot of counsel interrupting witnesses, thank goodness, but I saw a lot of counsel interrupting each other. And that's really jarring. It just gives a bad impression on the finder of fact and on the court. And sour your relations with your fellow professionals. That should only ever be done under the most egregious and extreme of circumstances, like when someone is trying to sneak excluded evidence into a question. Otherwise, there's just no reason for it. So I also thought, just generally, and I know the limits of the materials that you have to work with. I thought everyone's evidence largely missed the point. This is an issue about whether the performer or his employer had control over these set of circumstances. Both sides' expert testimony really didn't conflict about this nonsense it's about the angles, which, by the way, is nonsense. I have 30 years of experience with firearms. I'm a former competitive marksman. What a bunch of shit, pardon my French. But you worked with the material you had, and I won't hold that against anybody. It was, you did the best you could with it, and I do appreciate that.
I don't have much to add to those great comments. I would suggest that not all the witnesses testify. The judge is always considered the 13th juror because they can overrule the juror under certain circumstances. So not all the witnesses look to me. I mean, they're all great performances. I wish they were just staring at me like that. But in any case, be sure that you instruct the witnesses to get everyone involved, and some of them did a better job than others. The flashlight thing, excellent. I don't know, was there a joke that you took someone's flashlight?
No, she just started doing it, I was like.
And then the other thing is, the attorneys were fantastic. We really want to score that because the score sheet's all on witnesses, but it would have been tough to score. I think I've been doing mock trials for 40 years of different types. And this format is my first time doing this format, but the attorneys were fantastic, and the witnesses could not have been as good. Got as good score. Attorneys, I really want to come.
Your Honor, sorry to cut you off, but we're gotta wrap it up a little bit. We're trying to do a ceremony.
Thank you.